The scorching sun beat down on the cracked asphalt of an isolated highway. Dust swirled in the dry air as Noah Carter, a struggling mechanic with grease-stained hands and a heart full of unseen scars, drove his rusted-out pickup toward a gas station in the middle of nowhere. His tank was nearly empty, his wallet even worse, barely a crumpled $5 bill to his name. Just as he contemplated how to make it to the next town, he spotted a sleek black luxury car parked awkwardly on the shoulder. The hood was up, and beside it stood a woman in an elegant white dress, her golden blonde hair fluttering in the wind. She looked lost, nervous, and wildly out of place. And for some reason, something about her eyes, stormy blue and guarded, made Noah's gut twist. Most people would have kept driving. He should have kept driving, but something told him to stop. He pulled over, stepped out of his truck, and wiped his hands on his already dirty jeans before approaching. "Car trouble?" he asked, keeping his tone casual. The woman turned, eyes narrowing slightly, her posture defensive. "Yes, I don't know what happened. It just stopped." Her voice was smooth but held a strange mix of authority and hesitation. Noah sighed. "Pop the hood. Let me take a look." As she moved to obey, he couldn't shake the feeling that she wasn't just another stranded driver. Something about her was off, like she didn't belong here, like she was running from something. And Noah was about to find out exactly what. As Noah leaned under the hood, he quickly identified the problem: a cracked serpentine belt and a drained battery. The car was high-end, something far beyond what normal folks drove out here. "You got a phone?" he asked, glancing at the woman. She hesitated before shaking her head. "It died." He frowned. "No backup? No way to call someone?" She averted her gaze. Now that was suspicious. Most people carried a charger, especially someone wealthy enough to drive a car like this. And that dress, too pristine for someone just passing through. "Where you headed?" he pressed. She bit her lip. "Nowhere. I need to keep going." Noah exhaled. Something wasn't right. "Look," he said, "I can tow you back to my shop. It's about 15 miles from here, but I can fix the car if I can get the parts." He studied her face, trying to read her expression. "Unless you got somewhere urgent to be." Her eyes flickered with something. Fear? Hesitation? She took a slow breath before finally nodding. "All right. Thank you." As Noah hooked up the tow, he had no idea that his act of kindness was about to unravel a world of trouble, danger, and a truth that would shake him to his core. As they rode in his truck, Noah kept glancing at the woman. She was too polished, too poised, even though she was clearly shaken. "I'm Noah," he offered, breaking the silence. She hesitated before answering. "Lena." It felt like a lie. "Where are you from, Lena?" "Far from here." Another lie. Noah didn't push, but his instincts screamed that something was way off. He knew trouble when he saw it. He had lived through enough of it himself. When they finally reached his small, worn-down garage, he motioned for her to step inside. It wasn't much: tools scattered across the counters, the faint smell of oil and metal, and an old coffee machine that barely worked. "You can wait here," he said, nodding toward a worn-out chair. "Might take me a few hours to get this fixed." She nodded but said nothing. Noah couldn't ignore the way she kept glancing over her shoulder, like she was expecting someone to show up, or hunting her. He just didn't know yet that she was right. Noah was halfway through fixing the belt when headlights flared outside the shop. A sleek black SUV rolled in, its tinted windows giving nothing away. Noah wiped his hands, his muscles tensing. He turned to Lena. Her face had gone pale. "You expecting someone?" he asked lowly. She swallowed hard. "No, lies." Again. Before he could say more, the doors of the SUV opened, and 3 men in dark suits stepped out. The way they carried themselves screamed authority or danger. Noah instinctively stepped in front of Lena. One of the men, tall and built like a tank, approached. His cold, calculating eyes landed on Noah. "We're looking for someone," the man said, his voice edged with menace. "A woman. Blonde. Expensive taste. You seen anyone like that?" Noah didn't flinch. His heart pounded, but he kept his voice steady. "Nope. Just me out here." The man studied him for a long, tense moment. Noah could feel Lena trembling behind him. "You sure about that?" the man asked, stepping closer. "Because if you were lying, you wouldn't like what happens next." Noah clenched his jaw. He wasn't a hero. He was barely scraping by, but something in him refused to hand her over. And just like that, his life changed forever. As the men finally drove off, Lena let out a breath and collapsed into the chair. "You gonna tell me what the hell that was about?" Noah demanded. She hesitated before finally whispering, "I'm not who you think I am." Noah folded his arms. "Figured that out myself." She closed her eyes. I'm not just some woman traveling through. I'm Lena Iverson. My full name is Princess Helena of Veridonia." Noah stared at her, trying to process. "You're telling me you're a freaking princess?" She nodded. Noah dragged a hand down his face. "You gotta be kidding me." "I wish I was," she whispered. And just like that, Noah found himself caught in the middle of something much bigger than he ever could have imagined. A broke mechanic from nowhere, and a runaway princess with a target on her back. What the hell had he just gotten himself into? Noah leaned against the workbench, staring at Lena like she had grown another head. A princess. In his garage, running from men in black SUVs. He should have told her to leave. Told her this wasn't his problem. But that wasn't who he was. "All right, princess," he exhaled. "You want to explain why you're running?" Lena swallowed hard. "My father, the king, was supposed to announce my engagement next week. A political marriage to strengthen alliances. But I found out the man I was supposed to marry isn't just powerful. He's dangerous." Noah narrowed his eyes. "How dangerous?" She hesitated. "He has people killed, silenced. He's ruthless. And my father either doesn't know or doesn't care. If I marry him, I'll be trapped forever." Noah exhaled sharply. Damn. This wasn't just a spoiled rich girl running away from her responsibilities. This was life or death. "You should have gone to the cops," he muttered. Lena scoffed. "You think the police would go against royalty? My father controls everything. If they find me, they'll drag me back. And this time, I won't get away." Noah ran a hand through his hair. He wasn't cut out for this. He was just a mechanic barely getting by. And yet, as he looked at the desperation in her eyes, he knew he wasn't about to let her fend for herself. "All right," he finally said. "You can stay the night. But we need a plan, princess, because I got a feeling those guys will be back." Lena met his gaze, relief flickering in her eyes. "Thank you, Noah. I mean it." And just like that, Noah's quiet, miserable life took a turn he never saw coming. The next morning, Noah barely got his coffee brewed before the sound of tires crunching gravel made him look up. Another black SUV. "Shit, princess," he called. "We got company." Lena rushed out of the back room, eyes wide with panic. "We have to go," Noah said. "No, I can't." "You want to go back to your gilded cage? Be forced to marry some psychopath? Then stay. Otherwise, get in the damn truck." Lena hesitated for a split second before grabbing the duffel bag Noah had given her. Without another word, she climbed into the passenger seat. Noah jumped in, turned the key, and slammed on the gas. The truck's tires spun against the dirt before they launched forward. In the rearview mirror, the black SUV roared to life and took off after them. They were being hunted. Noah clenched the wheel. If they wanted her, they were going to have to fight him for it. And they had no idea what kind of man they were dealing with. As Noah weaved through back roads, trying to lose the tail, Lena finally spoke. "You're not just a mechanic, are you?" He exhaled. "I was. But before that?" His grip on the wheel tightened. "Before that, I used to be someone else." Lena's eyes bore into him. "Someone dangerous?" Noah's jaw clenched. "Someone who doesn't exist anymore." But as the SUV closed in behind them, he realized he might have to become that person again. Because some battles you don't walk away from. Noah clenched the wheel as his truck hurtled down the desolate road, the black SUV still hot on their tail. This wasn't just some hired muscle. These men were professionals, relentless, trained, and prepared for a hunt. And they were after Lena. She gripped the seat with white-knuckled hands. "Noah, we won't outrun them. We need a plan." A part of Noah agreed. But another part? The part he had buried long ago? It was already calculating, strategizing. He knew how these people worked. He knew how to disappear. His past made sure of it. With a hard jerk of the wheel, Noah veered the truck down a narrow dirt path, kicking up a cloud of dust that momentarily blinded their pursuers. Lena yelped, bracing herself. "Where are we going?" "Somewhere they won't find us," he said, his voice tight. "At least not right away." The truck bounced violently over uneven terrain, the tires skidding against the loose gravel. The SUV swerved behind them, but Noah had one advantage. He knew these back roads. They didn't. For now, that was enough. But it wouldn't last. Because deep down, Noah knew something he hadn't admitted yet. Not to Lena, not even to himself. This wasn't just about her running away from an arranged marriage. This was bigger. Much bigger. And he was in the middle of it now. By the time Noah's truck pulled up to a rundown cabin deep in the woods, the sun was dipping below the horizon, casting long shadows over the trees. It wasn't much, a single-story wooden structure with peeling paint and boarded-up windows. But it was safe. At least for now. Noah killed the engine and turned to Lena. She looked shaken, but there was something else there, too. Something raw. "You okay?" he asked, his voice softer than before. She nodded, but her hands were still trembling. "That depends. Are we safe here?" Noah exhaled. For a little while. He wasn't lying. This cabin belonged to an old friend, someone who had helped him disappear when he needed it most. No one knew about this place. At least, no one who was still alive. Lena hesitated before opening the door. "You didn't have to do this, you know," she murmured. "You could have left me there. Pretended you never saw me." Noah met her gaze, his jaw tightening. "Yeah, I could have." But he hadn't. Because deep down, Noah had never been the kind of man who walked away from a fight. And this was a fight worth having. Inside the cabin, Noah lit a single lantern, the dim glow flickering over the dust-covered furniture. Lena stood near the doorway, arms wrapped around herself. She looked small, vulnerable, despite the fire in her eyes. "Who were those men?" Noah asked, crossing his arms. She hesitated, then sighed. "They work for my father. He sent them to bring me back." Noah studied her, waiting. "And?" She swallowed. "And if they take me back, I won't ever leave again." Noah clenched his jaw. He didn't need details to understand what that meant. "If you want me to keep helping you, I need the full story," he said. "No more half-truths." Lena hesitated, then finally spoke. "My fiancé, Daniel, isn't just some nobleman. He's dangerous, ruthless. He's already had people killed just to solidify his power. And my father? He doesn't care. He sees the alliance as necessary. If I go back, I'll be trapped in a life I can't escape. A cage." Noah let that sink in. "You said your father controls everything," he said. "So running. What's your plan?" Lena pressed her lips together, looking away. "I don't have one." Noah exhaled slowly. Damn it. He wasn't just protecting her from some spoiled nobleman. He was protecting her from an entire kingdom. This wasn't just running anymore. This was war. Hours passed. The cabin remained silent, but Noah knew better than to let his guard down. He sat by the window, watching the tree line, his old instincts kicking in. If those men found them here, there wouldn't be a conversation. Just bullets. Lena sat on the couch, staring into the dim lantern light. "You keep looking outside," she murmured. "You really think they'll find us?" Noah didn't answer right away. "They will," he admitted. "It's just a matter of when." Lena's breath hitched, but she didn't cry. Didn't panic. Instead, she clenched her fists. "What do we do?" Noah glanced at her. She was scared, but she wasn't weak. "We fight," he said simply. Lena inhaled sharply, then nodded. Noah didn't say it out loud, but he knew the truth. This wasn't just about keeping her safe anymore. It was about making sure no one could take her freedom again, even if it meant Noah had to go back to being the man he swore he'd never be. Noah could feel it in his bones. They weren't alone anymore. Something in the air had changed. A shift so subtle most people wouldn't notice it. But Noah? He had lived in the shadows before. He knew what it felt like when someone was watching. And right now, they were being watched. Lena sat by the old fireplace, her eyes distant. She was trying to act calm, but Noah could see the tension in her shoulders. She knew it too. Noah moved away from the window and grabbed his bag, pulling out a 9mm pistol. He checked the magazine, making sure it was loaded. Lena's gaze flickered toward him. "Is that really necessary?" He gave her a look. "I told you. They'll find us. And when they do, it won't be for a polite conversation." Lena swallowed hard but nodded. "How much time do we have?" she asked quietly. Noah glanced back out the window. "Maybe an hour. Maybe less." He sighed. Pack whatever you need. We're not staying. Lena's face tightened. We keep running? For now, Noah muttered. But that won't be enough. Because deep down, he knew the truth. They wouldn't stop until they had her. Unless he stopped them first. The silence shattered with the sharp crack of gunfire. Lena yelped, diving to the floor as the cabin window exploded into shards of glass. Noah moved fast, grabbing Lena and yanking her behind the old wooden couch just as another shot rang out. Stay down, he ordered. Outside, shadows moved in the trees. 3. No, 4 of them. How did they find us so fast? Lena whispered, her breath shaking. Noah didn't answer. He already knew. They had been tracking them, probably since they left his garage. He should have known better. A voice called from outside. Noah Carter, we know you're in there. Hand over the girl, and we'll let you live. Noah's jaw clenched. Damn, they knew his name. That meant this wasn't just about Lena anymore. Now it was personal. Noah exhaled sharply. Fine. If they wanted a fight, they were going to get one. Noah moved like a ghost, slipping through the shadows of the cabin as more gunfire erupted outside. His mind went cold, calculating. This wasn't the first time he had been in a firefight, and it wouldn't be the last. Lena pressed herself against the floor, her breathing fast. What do we do? We make them regret coming here, Noah muttered. Before she could respond, Noah grabbed an old rifle he had hidden under the floorboards. Then he took aim. The first shot dropped one of the men instantly. The second sent another one scrambling for cover. The leader shouted something, but Noah didn't care. He had spent too long running. Now it was time to fight. The men outside hesitated, their confidence shaken. They had expected a scared mechanic. Instead, they had walked into a war zone. Noah pressed against the wall, his heart steady. He needed to get Lena out of here. Lena, he whispered. When I say go, you run to the truck. Got it? She hesitated. What about you? Noah's eyes darkened. I'll be right behind you. It was a lie, because Noah knew he wasn't making it out of this without a fight. Another shot rang out, missing his head by inches. Noah growled. Enough was enough. He grabbed a Molotov cocktail from under the sink, an old insurance policy. Then, with a flick of his lighter, he sent it flying toward the SUV. The explosion ripped through the night. And just like that, the game had changed. Lena didn't hesitate. The second Noah shouted, she ran. Bullets sprayed the ground around her, but she didn't stop. Couldn't stop. The truck was just ahead. Almost there. Behind her, Noah was still fighting. She heard the sounds of fists meeting flesh, the grunts of pain. Then, silence. Lena's heart clenched. Noah? She turned back. And that's when she saw him. Standing in the burning wreckage, blood dripping from his temple. Noah looked like a man who had just crawled out of hell. And the only thing keeping him upright was pure rage. Lena barely had time to process what had happened before Noah jumped into the truck beside her. Drive, he ordered, his voice like steel. Lena hit the gas. The truck roared down the dirt road, leaving behind the smoldering remains of the cabin. Noah slumped against the seat, breathing heavily. Are you okay? Lena asked. Noah wiped the blood from his face. Better than them. Lena swallowed. He had killed them. Noah must have seen the look on her face because he sighed. You want the truth? He murmured. I used to be one of them. Lena's breath hitched. One of who? Noah closed his eyes. The people hunting you. The road stretched before them, endless and dark, but inside the truck, a storm raged between Noah and Lena. You said you used to be one of them. Lena finally spoke, breaking the silence. Noah exhaled, his hands tightening around the steering wheel. Not exactly like them, but I was trained for situations like this. Lena frowned. What does that mean? Noah kept his eyes on the road. It means I used to work in covert operations. I handled things that didn't make it to the news. When I left that life, I promised I'd never go back. He turned to her, his expression unreadable. Until now. Lena processed his words, her heartbeat picking up. You think my father's people are connected to that world? Noah hesitated before nodding. I'd bet on it. Powerful people protect their secrets at any cost. And whatever you know, it's dangerous enough that they sent trained men after you. Lena's stomach twisted. I don't even know what I know, she admitted, frustration lacing her voice. I didn't steal anything. I didn't leak anything. I just ran. Noah was silent for a moment. Then, maybe that's enough. Maybe running makes them nervous. Maybe it's not about what you did. It's about what you might do. Lena swallowed hard. So what do we do? Noah's jaw clenched. We stop running. We find out the truth. Noah pulled the truck off the main road and onto a secluded dirt path, stopping near an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of a small town. We need a plan, he said, killing the engine. Lena looked around, shivering at the eerie silence. Here? Noah nodded. No cameras. No eyes on us. Safe for now. Lena hesitated. And what's the plan? Noah turned to her. We don't have enough information. We need someone who does. Lena's eyes narrowed. Like who? Noah's lips pressed into a thin line. A man named Callum Graves. Investigative journalist. He's been digging into powerful figures for years. Lena's breath hitched. I know that name. My father once called him a problem in a meeting. That's because he is a problem, Noah said. For people like your father, at least. He checked his phone. If we can get to him, we might be able to figure out what's really going on. Lena exhaled. And where is he? Noah glanced at her, eyes sharp. New York. They couldn't just fly to New York under their real names. Too risky. Noah used old contacts to secure fake IDs, burner phones, and tickets on a private charter plane. It was costly, but there was no other way. By the time they landed, the city lights gleamed like a promise and a threat. Noah led Lena through side streets, avoiding major roads. Graves doesn't trust easily. We have to be careful. Lena followed, her pulse racing. And if he doesn't help us? Noah's expression darkened. Then we're on our own? After 2 hours of searching, they finally tracked Callum Graves to an underground bar in Brooklyn. Noah approached him cautiously. Callum. The man looked up from his drink, his sharp eyes narrowing. Noah Carter, he murmured. Didn't think I'd ever see you again. Callum leaned back, studying Lena. And who's your friend? Noah didn't waste time. She's the daughter of someone powerful. Someone with dark secrets. Callum smirked. That's a long list. Lena swallowed. My father. King Edward. The smirk vanished. Callum leaned in. You have my attention. Lena hesitated before speaking. I overheard something a year ago. Something about hidden transactions, shifting money where no one could trace it. I didn't understand at the time, but I think my father's been funding something illegal. Callum's gaze sharpened. I've been chasing that story for years, but no one ever had proof. Noah cut in. If we find proof, can you expose it? Callum exhaled. I can try. But if you're right, if your father is covering something big, he'll do anything to bury the truth. Lena's voice was firm. Then we have to move fast. Callum agreed to help. He led them to a safe house, where he pulled up years of research. This is bigger than just your father, Callum muttered. There are multiple players. Politicians, business moguls, people you'd never suspect. Lena's blood ran cold. Noah crossed his arms. And what happens if we bring this to light? Callum looked at them grimly. You'll never be safe again. Lena inhaled deeply. I've already lost everything. If my father's been part of something this dark, the world deserves to know. Noah met her gaze. Then we finish this. Callum worked through the night, gathering incriminating evidence. By morning, Lena's father had issued a public statement, denouncing her, calling her a traitor to the crown. They're preparing to shut us down, Noah muttered. We need to act now. Callum nodded. I have media contacts. If we release everything at once, they can't cover it up. Lena clenched her fists. Do it. The news exploded worldwide. Every major outlet reported on the scandal. Protests erupted. Public opinion turned against the monarchy. Lena's father was forced to step down. Her fiancé disappeared overnight. But Lena wasn't free yet. Because now, she was the most wanted woman in the world. With her name tainted, Lena could never return home. She turned to Noah. What now? He smirked. You start over. Lena exhaled, nodding. And you? Noah looked at the horizon. Wherever trouble is, I won't be far. Lena smiled softly. Then I guess this isn't goodbye. Noah chuckled. Guess not. And with that, they walked into a new future. One where they weren't running anymore. One where they were finally free.